everybody, and welcome to this month's LinkedIn Living, shining a light on the world's leading B2B social media platform, that is LinkedIn. So today we're actually talking all things LinkedIn Live, because it's a super tool for building connection with your audience, and it's great for creating content that you can repurpose into blogs and podcasts and all sorts of things. And I'm really excited because who best to tell us all about it is none other than Gillian Whitney, all the way from Las Vegas. Hello, Gillian. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, and I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you're here because Gillian and I met actually in person at Uplift Live in March this year, which was the UK's first LinkedIn conference. So it's great that you were able to come over and share all your top tips on going live on LinkedIn. So, which I learned loads from, and I'm still learning loads from Gillian. So I'm really excited. So just so that everybody knows who you are, Gillian, you are a LinkedIn live stream strategist and coach, and you work with professionals to help them leverage LinkedIn and LinkedIn Live to be discovered, noticed, and recognized on LinkedIn. So I think we're in safe hands, personally, which is fantastic. Now, for everybody who's new to these LinkedIn Live-ins, they're wondering what the heck they are. They actually are short, bite-sized LinkedIn learnings, usually over lunch, but today over tea time. We're having afternoon tea today with Gillian. And each month I'm joined by a guest expert who shares their expertise on subjects that will help support your LinkedIn activity and results. So I do love to make these Live-ins as interactive as possible. If you've got any questions, please do put them in the comments box and we will highlight them and get to them. We have got Gillian for 30 minutes. We've got to squeeze as much as we can out of Gillian in that time. So please do bob your questions in there. So let's get started. Gillian, I think the first question has to be, why, as business owners, should we be going live on LinkedIn?
Well, it's one of the best ways for people to get to know, like, and trust you. And that's ultimately how people want to do business with you. If you are invisible and nobody knows who you are, it does not matter how great your service is, how great your products are, whatever. If people don't know you exist, they can't find you to basically give you money. That's the main thing. And, so I used to do LinkedIn video. That was always my thing. But to be honest with you, video is very hard. It's a lot of work to do video. And I actually think LinkedIn Live is much easier because it's so forgiving. Live is real. It's forgiving. It's real time. And nothing shows your expertise than somebody asking you a question like this and you being able to answer it in the moment. It's so much different than if I had written a script and I'm doing a video and I got a teleprompter and then I'm editing it and then I've got to polish it and add music and all these things. So it's, and also to look at the AI, look at all the AI that's coming into LinkedIn. And unfortunately, people are making AI videos. And, are you really going to trust somebody that's not even doing a real video? So you can't outsource a live yet. I can't send my AI avatar here, Gillian number 2. I can't do that. So it keeps it real and allows people to get to know you.
I love that, Gillian, because that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about the AI video. So this is we're real, and you can know from a live that it is real people, which is fantastic. And I agree so much about video, because you'd think, just do a video. I'll be easy. I'll just do a video. I mess up. It takes me all day. I hate it. Whereas, with these things, as you say, it's great. And I think it's a good point that you made there. So it's about, I'm hosting this LinkedIn Live and you're a guest. So people don't necessarily have to host it themselves. It's maybe looking for opportunities to be a guest, to share their expertise as well.
And that truly is that's kind of the best way to get into a LinkedIn Live. Don't go to all the expense of, I've got to have this and that and everything else. just start small. Start small. Like, think of it as a television show. Would you rather be Oprah, who has to run the whole show, or do you just want to be Ellen DeGeneres that just gets to come on and be a guest? And one day she went off and made her own show. So that's the same thing. Start as a guest, because literally you did way more work than I did today, Judy. You set up the live, you made the post, you put everything out, you had to get links. Send me links. You have to vet your guests and meet with them. There's so many different hats you had to wear doing this. What did I do? I woke up. I jumped on the lot.
Yeah, literally.
Here. So, you know, gosh, it's a lot easier to be a guest.
It is, and I will just put it out there. Anybody who wants to test it, please let me know, and you can come and be a guest on here to talk on your LinkedIn Live here. So fantastic. So I am sure this happens a lot, Gillian, but you know, is there something? What actually stops people from going live? You know, why isn't everybody doing it?
Yeah, you would think so. You would think so. And there's three things that stop people from going live. The first one is fear. That's just the elephant in the room that we always have to talk about. And you know what? It's the same fear that holds us back from doing video. And the thing is that you just have to get over it. You have to just get over yourself. And what I recommend for people is, we have all done scary things in our lives. And, you know, you can kind of maybe stop and think back of, what is the scariest thing I ever did that there was no guarantee it would work. So for instance, having a kid, having a baby, it's like, you know, you say, oh, I want to have a kid. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't know, this is going to be really scary, you know? And I know the scariest thing I ever did was I went skydiving once. And once. I never did it again, but I did it once. And the thing is that I had to prepare, and there was a lot to skydiving. You don't just go leaping out of a plane. You spend a whole day learning how to do stuff. And I was really, really scared, but I wanted to do this for my husband's birthday. So I went, okay, I'm going to face my fears. And I actually read a book I highly recommend to everybody called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Yeah, that's it. And truly, that is the mindset. Own that it is scary, but do it anyways, because you don't know what you can do until you do it. And it's kind of like, if you think of a ship, ships when they're in a harbor, they're safe, but that's not what ships are built for. They're built to go across the sea. It's the same with us. We're not meant to sit in a harbor and be safe. We have to do scary things, but the reward on the other side, whether it's, you know, jumping out of a plane and landing on the ground, that's a good reward. Or having a baby, you get this little baby at the end and it's adorable. You know, all these different things. It's the reward. So you just move past that fear. So that's number one, is fear. That's 100%. Number one. Now, number two is the tech. And people get real hung up with, oh, I need a studio. I need, you know, all these things. And somebody talks about a stream deck. What's a stream deck? I don't have any of that equipment. And I've showed people what my setup is. I use a laptop, a webcam, and a microphone and a ring light. It's no different than if I was on a Zoom call. Literally, there's no difference, except I plug my computer into the router so that I have a stable internet connection. So that's the only extra bit. So I call it being Zoomable Plus, because the plus is you want that real stable internet connection, but you don't need fancy tech. You can really start, if you're doing Zoom, you can do it live. So that's the tech. And then the other thing, number three, is, what am I going to talk about? People go, oh, I couldn't go on a live. What am I going to talk about? And you can just literally think about what it is that is your marketing message. What's your mission? What do you want to be known for? What do you talk about? So with me, I could talk about LinkedIn video. I can talk about LinkedIn Live. I can talk about marketing. You know, I can bring all of that. I can talk about my book nerdiness. I love books. I can talk about books. Think of all the things that either you're passionate about and you're curious about, or things that show your expertise. And another tip that I give to people is, just make a mind map where it's just a drawing, and you draw out all the things that you could talk about on a particular subject. So if I said, LinkedIn video, I could talk about how do you upload a video? How do I make a video? What size should my video be? How long should my video be? How do you add captions? Does it need a thumbnail? How do I make a thumbnail? All of these things could now be the talking points of, well, that's what I could talk about. So that's in a nutshell.
And you know, and I love that. And I think, you know, I started doing these LinkedIn love-ins pretty much out of COVID. I did like training and things like that. And for me, it is finding that hook, if you like, of what is your, what are you going to talk about? What is it you want to be known for? What do you want to be famous for? And for me, what I love about it is like, you know, is that I have guests. So actually it's not me. So yeah, I know you said I've done all the hard work setting it up, but actually you're doing the hard work now because you're giving me all the lovely expertise and tips and things like that. So I really would recommend, you know, for anybody to just be a guest first to get that experience, and then to think about, it's like starting a LinkedIn newsletter, isn't it? Any form of content, what are you talking about? What is it you want to be known for? So I love that.
Exactly.
So actually just talking about the tech, because LinkedIn, I don't know if anybody here goes live on Facebook, but they have a built-in system, don't they? But the technical aspects of going live on LinkedIn is different, isn't it, to Facebook?
Yes.
I've never gone live on Facebook, so I don't really know. But there's a number of systems, isn't there, third-party platforms you can use to go live on LinkedIn.
True, true. So Facebook allows for what's called native live streaming, which literally you can just go to Facebook, and I believe you can do it on Instagram too. And you just literally go live and just start using your phone. And for the most part, that's what people do. They're using their phone and they're going live, which is not usually the best connection because it's not very stable. Phones can be fast, but they're not stable because very difficult to plug your phone into the router of your house. You know, most of us would be out and about, you know, at a train station going live, which I've done. But anyways, with Facebook, you can actually go live by hitting the go live button in Facebook. But on LinkedIn, you have to use the third-party app. Now, there's rumors that native live streaming is something that's kind of on the roadmap, and it's something that's coming to LinkedIn, but it's not here yet. So right now you need to use a third-party platform. I like to use StreamYard. You're using StreamYard too. It's easy peasy. It's so easy because it's browser based, which means that literally I go into the live, you go into the live, we meet in StreamYard, and it means that StreamYard is doing all the heavy lifting. They're doing all the work because they're putting it out to LinkedIn. There's times when you can multi-stream and you might say, oh, I want to go live to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube and Twitter. You know, you can go live to like a bunch of places, and StreamYard is smart enough to get it to all those places evenly at the same time. So that's why I love StreamYard. But another one is Restream. That's one. Ecamm is a little bit trickier because it's PC and it's not PC, it's Mac, and it runs off your computer. So that's a lot harder to use. Some people even go live with Zoom. That's a possibility. Yeah, with Zoom. I don't recommend Zoom because you can't display the comments on the screen like you can in StreamYard. So I don't know if I'd like that. Plus it's, you know, there's so many great layouts and stuff like that in StreamYard. You can do all sorts of cool, fancy stuff. So that's why I like StreamYard.
There is. And just to demonstrate that, I'm just going to show, because what I'd love, if anybody's got any questions, you know, so what's stopping you, for those of you that are living, or even watching the replay, what's stopping you going live on LinkedIn? You know, out of those 3 reasons that Gillian mentioned being the most common ones, what else is stopping you? That'd be really, really good to do. And I use StreamYard as well, and it's just, as Gillian says, it's easy peasy. It's like anything, isn't it? You know, the fear and things like that is you just do it. I mean, how many conversations, you know, have you had with people where you've had a LinkedIn Live and it's gone wrong, or it's not happened?
Oh, and I laugh because I was telling Judy this before we started the show today. I said, it's not if something will go wrong, it's when it will go wrong, because things happen. And I relayed a story that a couple of, just before I went to LinkedIn Uplift Live, I had a live with Kevin D. Turner, and we were both speakers at Uplift Live. And in the middle of the live, my internet just like cut out totally. And like I was plugged in. It just, you just sometimes get an outage, and it just went out. I don't know if the power went out or whatever, but I literally dropped out of the live. Kevin was on by himself, and he just went, okay, well, I'm sure she'll be back. And he just carried on, kept talking. And he got to 30 minutes because I was like 10 minutes trying to get back into the live. And he carried on for 10 minutes. And then he said, well, that's 30 minutes. That's usually when Gillian says goodbye. So I'll say goodbye. And he said goodbye to everybody. And luckily I finally got in, closed out the live. And one person was watching, and I actually scared them when I came back on, and they were like, oh, I thought you were gone, and they didn't realize they were sitting there looking at a blank screen. So it was really funny.
Oh my
but
goodness.
Things like that happen, all of a sudden your guest goes to share their screen, they leave. Or I had somebody once who they couldn't get their headphones to work. So she used the telephone, and she just held the telephone up for the entire live. You get cats showing up, you get kids showing up, all sorts of stuff happens. But you know what? People don't care. People don't go, well, I'm not watching this live because that woman has like, a dog barking. They'll just go, because you're all going to say, okay, hang on a minute. And you give the dog a cookie and he stops barking. It's life. It's life.
It is.
So people are forgiving.
I think people actually like to see it more as well, that we're not all, it's not all perfect. And I just want to say, because the lovely Rebecca and Ewingham is here as well. And I did a live, it was one of my early ones with Rebecca. And I don't know what happened, but we were using StreamYard, we were going live, or we thought we were live, but it turns out that we weren't live. There was a disconnect between StreamYard and LinkedIn. But we carried on, and when I listened to the replay, I was going, oh, I don't know. It's like, oh, it's so funny. You just have to laugh. But actually, these are really good war stories, isn't there? And I think
they are.
Do it, fail, it doesn't matter. It's all part of the learning process, isn't it?
And that's it. And you never really can truly fail. You're just progressing. It's like everything that happens just leads us to, oh, maybe I'll know I need to do this next time. Like, it's like sometimes it's beyond your control, like a blackout or, whatever. You can't control that. But sometimes you can say, oh, you know what? I forgot to put my computer on do not disturb. And so my email kept binging and binging through the whole live, which was like really annoying. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. So sometimes it's like, okay, I've learned something. Now I'll move forward and I'll make a little checklist that I'm going to turn off my email, and that's how I'll get past it. And sometimes I'll just say, you know what, when the power goes out, there's not a lot I can do. So, and there are times, Judy, like you said, StreamYard, something doesn't work. LinkedIn sometimes doesn't work. Sometimes people have to hop over to YouTube and watch my live because LinkedIn's not working that day. It just happens.
It does. And actually, we do have a question from Sarah, actually, because she's saying that her block for LinkedIn Lives is the tech or cost for StreamYard versus Zoom or video. Now, somebody said to me that they use StreamYard free, but I actually pay for Stream. And so I pay for it, and it's about £140 for the year, so it's not an extravagant amount of money at all.
No. But yeah, you can start on the free plan. And StreamYard is, I think StreamYard is very, very generous with their free plan. The only thing that it's not like a trial, like 7 days and like you're out the door or anything like that. You don't have to give a credit card. You don't have to do anything. You can literally get on StreamYard for free. The catch is, there's a couple of catches. You're limited on like, your background colors and all that sort of thing. So you couldn't have this pretty blue background. I think you have to use their backgrounds. And then there would be the StreamYard logo, which is the duck, because that's their logo, the StreamYard duck. And he's going to be in the upper corner of your screen. And I think you can't get recordings. So that's the disadvantage. You can't get recordings, which means you can't repurpose your lives later. And that's a second day. That's a second day thing. Maybe you just want a couple of, opportunities to have some lives. And then you go, I like this. I think I want to do this. So now I'm going to invest and get the first plan of StreamYard. That's all I have. Like I'm a live stream strategist. You think I would have the biggest, boldest plan, and I don't. I just have the first level plan because I figure that's what most people are going to go for. So I want to be able to teach them the way that they would be using it. So that's why I did an upgrade. I really thought about it.
Oh, I didn't even know that actually. But I mean, the level I'm on, which I'm guessing is the same as you.
Yep.
It works absolutely fine. I don't need it for anything else. So,
no, and you get all the recordings, and you get 50 hours, 50,
yes,
50 hours of recording, like being saved in the cloud for you. And then from there, you can download the whole live. You can download the audio. So these are great down the road if you want to do like a podcast, or you want to do, build up your YouTube channel. But you can also download snippets. And so you could just take a little snippet of like, oh, that soundbite where, she said this to this. And then now you've got this little snippet. Well, you could just upload that snippet to LinkedIn, and LinkedIn does auto captioning, and you've got a video. So, that's a bonus. That's a bonus.
It is a bonus. So it is definitely worth paying for. So, Sarah, it's not that expensive. Jackie's also got a question here. Any tips on which mic and a built-in webcam? You've obviously got a lovely mic. I actually just using the mic that's on my camera, because this one doesn't work anymore. But I've got a headset, so it goes straight into my ears. But I've just got a high definition webcam.
Yeah, I have a Logitech Brio, but just like zoomable. The 920s, the Logitech 920s that pretty much everybody on the planet has one of those. That's all you need. You can use the webcam built into your computer, but chances are it's probably not going to be that great. So that would be my suggestion. I have a Mac, and it's like my built-in camera is not that great. So I like my webcam, but I don't have any special camera. It's just a webcam, nothing fancy. Logitech Brio is just the higher end version, but I was fine with a Logitech 920. I just decided I wanted the Brio. But anyways, mics, microphone, I'm using a Blue Yeti. It's a USB mic. I believe that you can, I would recommend the Nano, the Blue Nano. I think it's a Yeti Nano. I can't remember. All of a sudden my brain's like fried. I haven't had my coffee yet, but it sits a little bit lower. It sits a little bit lower.
Right, yeah.
So those are both good mics. There's a Samson. There's a couple of different mics. And so those are all, they're not expensive. So you don't have to go with the big Rodecaster Pro or anything like that. Just a basic mic. You could just wear headphones with a mic. That's fine too. I do recommend wearing headphones. I know you can't see it, but I have like little earbuds on. And the reason why I like the earbuds is that I want to be able to hear you, Judy. And also too, I don't want there to be any echo, because sometimes that can happen. There can be some echo because the mic would be picking up you talking when I'm not talking, and now it's going to double. So that can be a little tricky.
Yes, no, and I get that as well. And this is really interesting. Well, there's loads of questions coming through here, which I'm looking at here. But and I'm just going to talk about, and I think we should talk about, how do you've got your live, you've got everything going. How do you then get people coming to the live? The best way to build the audience. And this, I think, also. So Karen asked the question, "What's the best way to build an audience?"
That's a great question.
And I think it also ties in with Marianne's question here, that she does lives on a company page, and that you can add the questions and the comments to it. So I think there's two things here, because I always go live from my company page. It looks like Marianne does as well. You always go live from your personal profile, don't you? So I think maybe, how do we get people coming? Because there's two different ways of doing it, depending on whether you go company or personal, isn't it?
Yeah. So yes, you can go live on your company page. You can go live on your personal profile. The only requirement to have access to LinkedIn Live is you have to have at least 150 followers or connections. And that applies to both company pages and personal profiles. So that's something where You can't start live until at least you have an audience of 150. Now, I like going live on my personal profile because I just find that I get better engagement. And also too, when you go live on your personal profile, there's an events tab, and you don't get that on your company page. And I don't know why that is, but there's actually an events tab. So if you go to my personal profile and you click the events tab, you're going to see every single one of my lives that I've ever done, which I think is kind of cool.
True.
And I don't know why they don't do that on company pages. So I think the thing is, when you're on your personal profile, when you go live, I think people might be seeing it in the newsfeed. I don't know if company posts get as much visibility. Maybe a live does, but just by, I've got I don't even know how many people I have on my profile, but I think I have 10,000, something like that, maybe more. So I have 10,000. There's more chances people will just stumble upon it or see that notification. I don't know if you're a follower of a company page, I might get a notification you've gone live, but you just have a smaller pond.
And it's true, and I think it's a really interesting question, because what we found, so this is a technical question here that I've got for you, but at this moment in time, so normally I have, as I said to you, I have my techie VA who's also in the background, just making sure answering any questions and things like that. And she always tells me how many people we have on the live, because StreamYard is telling me that no one's.
They always say that. Yeah. And you get so depressed, but it's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Oh, goodness. Thank goodness everybody's commenting. But she has said before that we've always had more people than that registered. So we had 60 odd 70 people registered for this live today. But we've probably got more people watching than actually registered. So I think LinkedIn from company pages is promoting it.
That's good.
And I don't know if the notification goes out for that saying Judy Parsons has gone live. I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see if people notice that at all. But yeah, I think that's the only thing for me, is that I don't know how many people are live watching this at the moment, unless you've got somebody who's
And for the most part, I believe very strongly. And I actually did a poll about this. I do polls about everything, but I did a poll about this a couple of years ago. And I asked people, when do you watch the live? And I found more people were watching the replay than watching the live.
Yes.
So then that made me, and then I asked them, well, what are you doing when you're watching, when you're watching the live or watching the replay? And they said other stuff, so they're cooking, they're, doing, so I then realized I need to always make sure that I'm going live and doing it for the ear, that I'm recording a live for the ear, so that if somebody was doing something, I would say, okay, so I in this, this photograph that I'm showing on the screen right now, you can see blah, 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 blah. That way they could follow along, as opposed to, oh, isn't this funny? Ha, ha, ha. And they're like, what is she talking about? And then that's when I kind of got the idea of, maybe I'll start doing a podcast. If I'm going to record for the ear, then that way my lives are going to be very appropriate for a podcast. And so that's allowed me to do that. So I thought that was kind of cool. So that's the thing, just, you never know who's watching, but just recognize sometimes more people will watch the replay. And that's the evergreen part of a live.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of doing lives, isn't it? Because it's there constantly. And LinkedIn does love us doing lives, whether it is your company page or your personal profile. They love us doing it, and they will give us that visibility and promotion. So
and that came out and that came out in Richard Vanderblom's report when he did his LinkedIn algorithm report, and he was at Uplift Live talking about this too. And live video gets 10 times more engagement than a video. So you just kind of go, well, if video is so darn hard, because we're doing the million takes to make it perfect, and stressing out and all that stuff, to make a 30-second video, for crying out loud, that's crazy. And then you just think about going live, and it's so much easier because you just hit that go live button, and whatever happens, and you just have a fun time talking with somebody, and knowing that gets 10 times the engagement. What's the better ROI? Doing a live.
Exactly. And as you say, as we said at the beginning as well, is how you can then take this, you go in, you create you do the live, and you've got content then that you can repurpose and reuse, and this is going to be evergreen stuff as well. So I can talk about it again in a few months and things like that. It's all fabulous content.
Absolutely. So it's like at the end of the live, you could get this, take the recording, Judy, you could transcribe it, you could turn it into a blog post, you could turn it into a LinkedIn newsletter, article, all sorts of different things like that. You can take the video, you could create snippets, you could do a podcast, you can take just some cool little quotes that we said, and you could make graphics, you could make a PDF, one of those slider documents. Sometimes they call them carousels. Who knows? Everybody calls them something different these days. You just think of all those different things that you do from the live. It's like a gold mine of content. And I know some people who go live once a month and then they milk their live for everything. Like they just take it and use it over and over again. And to me, that's smart thinking. That's smart thinking.
It is. And do you know what? Can you believe we're already on half an hour, the 30 minutes? And, I've got ding, 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 because I've been doing these LinkedIn lives for a while, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done that. Oh, goodness me. So there's so much that I can be doing and should be doing with this. So I just want to say a huge thank you, Gillian, for all that wonderful tips. We could have carried on. I've just bobbed your details. If anybody wants to connect with Gillian, I've put her you can find her on LinkedIn, follow her on YouTube as well. And she also has a book, which would be fantastic, which I recommend, How to Feel Comfortable on Camera. So definitely need that. If you're feeling a little bit like, then you definitely need to. So please do go and check Gillian out. And if you've got any more questions, just carry on popping them in the comments box and we'll get back to them. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming, and big thank you to Gillian. I loved your tips.
Awesome.
So thank you so much indeed.
Okay. Thank you for having me. And it was great. I enjoyed it immensely.
Thank you.